Good evening, my fellow Chicagoans, viewers from all across the city, neighborhoods, and wards. Thank you for joining us for the Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to have a great show lined up. We are going to be speaking with the Green Party candidate for the Greater Chicago Water Reclamation District, Toneal Jackson. And we will also be doing a wrap-up of news stories from this week. Let's see who's joined us in the live chat. I know that we did some time travel. I had originally inadvertently scheduled tonight's 7:30 p.m. show for 7:30 a.m. this morning when I was creating the show last night. So I apologize for that, but I'm glad that you've all found us. I see in the live chat tonight who we've got Uncle Warren, Extra Bulla, Ilhanar, Art. Awesome. Art's joining us tonight. Ed Heller, always with us and in the live chat. As we begin tonight's program, I want to also encourage you all, if you have any questions for our special guest when we introduce her, please put them in the live chat. As always, I like to share what your thoughts are throughout the broadcast. So before we go any further, I would like to introduce my co-host for the evening, Mr. Kit Cabello.
Cheers and salutations.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Good to have you here, Kit.
Oh, my friend. Hey, speaking of renovations, I'm going to be posting a tweet on the Heartlands Media account about some super secret project that's happening at Chicago Corner. There'll be a picture posted, but I don't know what's happening. But the only way to find out is if you like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heartlands Media and Chicago Corner, and tune in at something really awesome that's happening.
Your host was hard at work tonight at the 99 Perspective studio, getting something ready, and that's all the hint we're going to give, but I'm very proud of how things turned out.
There's a picture on the Heartlands Media account, so it's going to be posted in 3, 2, 1. Posted on the Heartlands Media Twitter account.
And make sure that everybody comes back to the show if you want to check your Twitter to see what's going on.
Yeah, come back to the show, or stay with the show and go to Twitter after the show, okay? So there you go.
So I want to bring on our guest for the evening. She is the 2022 Chicago Metropolitan Water Reclamation District candidate, and she is going to be running for the 2-term seat on the board, and she is with the Green Party. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Toneal Jackson.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're glad we could schedule and bring you on, as we did Anna earlier this Tuesday, who's running for the representative seat.
State rep for our county. Yep.
Yes. So we're very green over here. We're very, very glad that we have the opportunity to introduce third-party candidates, because as we've said, or as I've said so often on the show, it gets really boring bitching and moaning all the time about what's wrong. So we need to find solutions. And I think a big part of that is introducing and finding and giving a platform to the third-party candidates that people aren't as easily able to find with the regular media outlets, either locally on their channels or on independent media. That's why we're really excited that the Green Party reached out to us on yours and Anna's behalf, so we could have you on the show to talk a little bit about your platforms and what you hope to do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So as I understand it, you have petitioned and you are going to be getting on the ballot, or a petition still being collected?
No, we are done. So within the Green Party, the MWRD is one of the things that we are established in already. So since we have an established status, then we were able to circulate the petitions already. So we did that from January 13th through March 14th. That was the last day to turn everything in. And so those parties who are not established, they are now circulating. But we're actually done. So with MWRD, all of that stuff is in. We were not contested or challenged, as they would say. So, but thank God for that. And so that means that because I am running unopposed, that I don't have to worry about the primary election. So I'll just be on that November 8th ballot. So yeah, we got enough signatures. We were not challenged. And so, yeah, that is where we are thus far.
Are there any other candidates that have emerged for that 2-year term, or you're
Oh, yeah.
going to be running on okay.
Yeah, no. So I am just running unopposed within the Green Party. So
I
yes,
see.
so the Democrats. So there are for the 6-year term. So you have two different positions for this. You have the 2-year term, which basically is the rest of Deborah Shore's term. She was a former commissioner that Biden appointed to do something with the EPA over the region. So now, since she's been elevated, then the remainder of her term was open. So what happened was Pritzker then appointed Shakina Perry to kind of run the rest of that until it's time for the election. So you have the 2-year term, and it's going to be myself. I know that Shakina Perry and Dan Pogorzelski are also both running. Now, what's going to happen for their primary come June 28th, because they're both Democrats, I have no clue, but that is who's running with me. And then with the 6-year term, I think there were like 12 people running for the 6-year term. Mark Bittner is the Green Party person, if you will, who's running for the 6-year term. And then you have a Republican that's running, and then there are 8 other Democrats. Now, 2 of them, so 2, I mentioned 12, but I only counted 10 because 2 of them, one withdrew and one was removed. So we'll see what ends up happening next week because they have a little bit more time to do a final withdrawal. So we'll see what happens on that front. But for the most part, we are really just kind of waiting until June 28th to know what the final say is in terms of who will actually be the final people on the November 8th ballot.
Okay. We already have a question in the live chat. Art, you're getting ahead of me, but we will get to our questions, and I will bring this back up again. Art says, may I ask what candidate Jackson defines as the philosophy of the Green Party, if there is one? Let's hold on that thought, because to start out, when we talk about the Greater Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Chicago, which is a mouthful.
A mouthful, yeah.
Right? I had to go look up, well, what is that? And why is it important to elect good candidates to supervise what's going on there? So I'm going to give a little bit of a quick overview from the Wikipedia page so that people kind of understand what's at stake here. And I'll actually take this down because that Wikipedia page is taking up too much space there. But so the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago, also known as the WMRD, originally known as the Sanitary District of Chicago, is a special purpose district chartered to operate in Cook County, Illinois since 1889. Although its name may imply otherwise, it is not part of the city of Chicago's local government, but is created by Illinois state government with an elected board of commissioners. The MWRD's main purposes are the reclamation and treatment of wastewater and floodwater abatement in Cook County to protect the health and safety of citizens and of area waterways. In 1900, the district notably reversed the flow of the Chicago River, and it is currently involved in the large multi-decade construction of the Deep Tunnel and Reservoir Plan, also known as TARP. So some of the responsibilities of the Water Reclamation District, let's see here.
You know what, Jerry? I can make it really simple for you.
I will pass it to you then. Why don't I pass it to you? Because at least I gave an overview of what it is. This is what you're running for, so you know it all. So I'll pass it along to you.
I won't say I know it all, but I definitely know a lot better to make it more conversational.
Much better than I do.
Yeah, let's make it because.
But before you go on with that, though, tell us a little bit about your background, what you've done before you chose to run for this position. I think it would be great for the audience to know a little bit more about you, Toneal the person, and then Toneal the candidate.
Sure. So about me in a nutshell, I have probably been in the literary world for the last decade plus. So most people know me more so as an author, publisher, speaker type person. I am always educating and empowering, right? I have an organization that's for women. It's called I'm Glad to Be a Woman. So I'm a feminist in my own right, but I'm also a mother. I'm a wife. All of that stuff that's on that screen.
There you go.
That is all me right there. So I do a lot. I wear a lot of hats. And so for me, but I love people. I'm a lover of community. And funny enough, I don't necessarily refer to myself as a politician, right? And I heard someone once describe it humbly as a public servant, and I think that's what best describes me because
I like that.
yeah, I've been serving people all my life. I've been married for 21 years. So let me tell you, if you can stay married that long, you have mastered serving somebody. And I have a lot of children. So between my spouse, between my girls, like I've been serving people for a long time. And then within the church community. So I have a genuine heart for people, right? So in terms of what brought me here is really the Green Party and my love for the Green Party. And so I love to be very transparent and letting people know, because I have never considered myself a politician. It's not like I had this lifelong dream to one day become the MWRD commissioner, right? This was just something that we as a party was talking about, something that we felt would be a good move for us holistically. And so that's one of the main reasons why they decided that they wanted for me to run, right? And so it's the same thing with being an author. I was not a person, here I am 18 books in, a national and international award-winning author, but I was not that person that said, oh, one day I want to be an author. So it just kind of seems like I stumble into the various forms and phases of my life. And so this is just the arena where we are right now. So that's Toneal as a person.
Life is like that as you juggle and shift into different places. I never imagined I would be hosting a YouTube live stream show because of my background in film and TV and entrepreneurship. But I love.
But you're doing a fantastic job, Jerry. Come on.
Thanks. It's fun. It's nice to be able to juggle multiple things and realize, you have multiple talents to share and offer. And as far as serving other people, I think that that's a absolutely wonderful way to frame it. And I wish more candidates would frame it that way. And hopefully within your own personal life, with your family and marriage and kids, they're serving you as well, because that's what it is. Give and take all across the board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now about this whole MWRD thing, and you have my permission for the remainder of the show to reference it by the acronym, because it is totally mouthful, right?
It's like my last name.
But you know what?
Over it.
But like your last name, once you get it, it just kind of flows, right?
Yeah. Just like the water that the Reclamation District is making sure it's safe for everybody.
Absolutely. And so when we were out petitioning, so my daughter, she's 19, and so we were out gathering signatures, and she had the hardest time trying to keep those words together too, right? So I told him, like, just say MWRD, and if somebody needs to know, say my mom is right there and she'll tell you the rest, right? So here's the thing that we noticed while we were out petitioning. The average person has no clue what the MWRD does, right? The average person has never even heard of the MWRD. So for me, one of the main reasons what my purpose is I want to educate the public. Again, going back, staying in my wheelhouse, I educate and empower. So what we want to do is make sure that people not just know what the MWRD does, who we are, but why they should care, right? So a lot of times people mistake it and they say, okay, well, I have issues that's going on. My water isn't coming on, and my water isn't. That's a water company thing. So the best way to think about it is all the water that leaves out of your house. So when you flush the toilet, when you're washing your clothes, when you're washing dishes, all of the water that goes out of your house, that's an MWRD issue, right? So within Chicago, we have 7, well, not Chicago, but the greater Chicagoland area, there are 7 plants, but there's a difference between working for the MWRD and being a commissioner, right? So those are 2 separate entities. So what the commissioners do, we pretty much establish policies to protect the water environment. So various things trying to help with the water. So the plants themselves, their purpose to treat the water, to make sure that the water is clean and, the best water as we can to protect our water supply. What we do is help to establish those policies that's going to protect the water. And then the other thing that we do is provide oversight oversight for the actual MWRD. So there's a lot of financial oversight or financial analysis that goes into being a commissioner as well. So it's really kind of like the commissioner is more like an administrative task, the administrative branch of the MWRD, if you want to think of it that way.
Fair enough. Let's go back to Art's question, because I think that's I'm impressed, because I this is stuff even I didn't find when I was doing my research before the show over at Wikipedia. But let's go to Art's question. As a Green Party candidate, he asked, may I ask what candidate Jackson defines as the philosophy of the Green Party, if there is one? And I think also maybe as it relates to this position you're running for as commissioner in the MWRD.
Absolutely. So with the Green Party, we actually have 10 core values, right? So I won't run all of them down for you, but as it pertains specifically to MWRD, where we kind of connect, is that thought of future focus and sustainability, right? So like with the MWRD, some of the issues that's facing them are the very ones that are some of our primary concerns: green infrastructure, water contamination, climate change, of course, right? So these are all issues that we all, Green Party, myself, and the MWRD, we all have these issues in common. So what we believe in terms of the Green Party, obviously we believe in recycling. We believe in wanting the water to be as clean as possible. And so that's really when you talk about our philosophy as it pertains to the MWRD, we have a stake in it because so like there is a project that the MWRD does where they're trying to do like a storm management or water management thing with debris. So like when you see debris in various in the river or something like that, they have a number where you can call to report it so people can remove that type of stuff, right? So the cleaner that our water is, then the better that it is for us as residents. And so obviously the Green Party has a stake in that. And so for us, that's what we're about. Like I say, you can also look at community-based economics. That's something that the Green Party believes in, that also ties into what as the MWRD, because it's more than just coming to the job 9 to 5. It's about community at large. And that's really for me where I'm coming in at, because so many people, Commissioner Dubuque herself said that the MWRD is the most important agency that no one knows about. I find that to be a huge problem, because if our success holistically is based on everybody's involvement, but people don't know about it, then how can we get better? How can we become better? Whatever the plan is, whether it is to recycle more, whether you're talking about in terms of like with the water, things that you can do, that we can do as citizens, if we don't know. So that's really one of the things that I feel that we can work on to become better, just helping to educate the public at large.
Fantastic.
Very impressive. Kit, do you want to ask a question before I ask someone what I have compiled?
Well, of course, it's the same thing that I want to make sure that our viewing audience understands. And it has to deal with, I guess, some of the issues your campaign will have to deal with in regards to the state of Illinois. Illinois has some hard draconian policies towards third parties. It's difficult for Greens, Libertarians, Independents to get on the ballot, to get on the debate stage.
Yep.
At least for our audience, even for your office, for this Office of Water Reclamation, Metropolitan Water Reclamation Department, the MWRD. But I think it's important that we really talk about some of the challenges that your campaign has had to deal with. What kind of pushback have you gotten from the state of Illinois? Are you able to get enough ballot signatures to be on the ballot? Will there be any? Have you had any kind of coverage by the media? Has the state of Illinois pushed back towards your campaign? Because again, third parties always seem to struggle here in the state of Illinois, and it's something I don't like to see, but it's a reality. So can you tell our audience about the struggles that your campaign has to deal with running in the state of Illinois?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitively setbacks because there is discrimination, right? I mean, like if we're just going to be totally transparent, it is definitively a major party or duopoly. You know, it's a major party game. So the expectation really, and it's the irony, everybody is tired of just Republican and Democrats. But when you introduce other politics to the table, it's all of these odds that stacked against you, right? So like for us, when we were running, you always have to get at least twice as many votes. But because we are an independent party now in this particular race, because we're an established party, it's not a ridiculous amount of votes. So we had to get 1132 is the minimum number. So we want to get, the goal was to try to get twice as much, but I think we came right under 2,000 signatures. But if you go to an unestablished party, right, or unestablished race, I should say, it's going to be like 25,000 signatures that you have to get minimally. So then you want to double that, because what happens is people can come and they can challenge your signatures. And so if you just barely have enough, by the time they finish challenging, and because they're major parties, they have big donors, they take corporate donations. And I think that it is very important to note that the Green Party, we don't take corporate donations. So we pretty much operate off of independent donations. And even with that, there's a maximum that we cut you off at. So like if you wanted to give to our campaign, hashtag MWRDgreens.org, the most that you could give is $500 as an individual, right? And I think that it is very important to note that, because even when we're going out to get endorsements, so this is meaning that we're trying to go to other organizations such as the Chicago Federation of Labor, Independent Voter Industry, what is it, IVI-IPO, right? So like various ones, Citizen Action, it's a lot of different organizations that will endorse different candidates. But one of the first questions they ask you on the interview is, how much money have you raised for your campaign? So it's like, okay, I'm running for office. So, but what they do is they automatically, the first thing that they're looking at is, how much money have you raised? And if that's not a part of my strategy, why should I be judged off of a criteria that's not even part of my strategy? Like in the age of social media, you actually can be effective without having to have $100,000 raised, $200,000 raised. Like if you really know how to work your social media, or you partner with different people, you can get on various shows. There are ways that you get exposure through effective campaigning. But to your other point, it is difficult to get some of the mainstream media to want to cover you, because they've been so used to only covering the two parties, right? And I will say this, it's really catch-22. It's like you can't really point the finger at whose fault it is, because for so long they only had two-party candidates. But then you have people that's finally coming to the table, and it would be great if streams like yourself, platforms like yourself said, hey, here's a third party, let's get a refreshing take. But a lot of times, because they don't necessarily know what to expect, then they're kind of hesitant to open the door. But then that goes back again. It's that circle that never ends. So for me, it's really about trying to get in front of as much media. And I told the Greens, like, it doesn't always have to be a political show, right? Like you just want to get in front of an audience, because everybody, ideally, everybody votes. So you want to be able to get whatever door is open for you that's obviously aligned with your belief system. So if somebody asks me to come on a show because I'm a mom, or because I'm an author, or because I just released a filmmaker, like, right, any of those things, then when I go, even if the show is not about politics, when they ask if there are any final remarks I want to leave, you best believe I'm going to tell them, hey, I'm also running for commissioner for MWRD, so I would appreciate your vote on November 8th. And that's one of the things we're going to have to do. We're just going to have to be creative when it comes to campaigning, because everybody will not give us a platform. So we have to be able to make our own.
Well, it's very clear from your personal website, you're very savvy about how to utilize social media.
I would also like to add on here too. Thank you for explaining the situation and what you have to deal with. And again, the overall problems that prohibits third parties like Greens, like socialists, like libertarians, like independents that have to deal with. Jerry, there are two questions though that are very pertinent that should be asked, because it has to deal with clean drinking water. We've talked about this on the show.
Lead in the water. Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's only fair that for our audience, we've talked about it. And for you as running as a Green Party candidate, especially for the protection of our clean drinking water, we need to ask this. So Jerry, do you want to take it away?
Well, yeah. Well, that was a question I was going to ask about, was the continuing issue of lead in the water. But let me go through my topic list here, just so I had things kind of like constructed in order, as far as like more of Toneal's philosophies, reasons to run, and then policy focused questions. So on a personal level, of all the offices to decide to run for as a candidate, because clearly you're very, very passionate about the Green Party and what they stand for, and representing, protecting the people. What personally inspired you to decide that the MWRD was the office to put your efforts into?
Okay, so there is the honest answer to it is this, but it's not the complete answer. So I'm gonna give you the answer and lead in with the rest.
Okay.
So it's really because this was what was presented to me, right? So initially it was like, hey, this office is coming up. We already have an established status within this office. We believe that you make a good candidate for it. Is this something you'd be interested in? And
Okay.
so, like, once I did further research into not just what the MWRD is, right? Because honestly, here was my setback initially. What I was saying with, do I actually want to run? Because I'm not a chemist, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a conservationist. And so those are some of the obvious things that people are going to point out, right? Because people are coming to the table with all of these, degrees in waterology and water management and all of that. That's not me. Yes, I do have a master's degree in business, but what made me say, you know what, I believe I can do this, is because a few things. Number one, I am definitely an organizer. So if I don't know how to do anything else, grassroots democracy is one of the Green Party's values, and that is who I am at my core. There's so many different organizations that I've taken and made from nothing. So if I know nothing else, I know how to build. I know how to connect with people, right? But then when I went to the MWRD's website, they have an entire tab that's dedicated to education. But here is the caveat. When you look at what they've done, it's not really anything. So, like, technically speaking, they have something where they do this seminar every quarter, but when you look at the views, it's like in 2 years, maybe 90 people have seen it. So it's not really a push that's happening. They have this annual event that they do, and I looked at it, and when I'm looking at it, not only, it wasn't even just that it wasn't a lot of views, but the way that it was set up, it wasn't really fun or interactive. So you kind of understand why it was really geared to people who already understand what the MWRD is, right? And so the whole point is, if you're trying to get other people who are involved who don't know, then you have to be able to talk to people on their level. And I think that sometimes when people have all of these different degrees or whatever, then they feel how to say this without being mean, they feel it necessary to show you their superiority. And for me, I'm a person that can be in both rooms equally with I can be in the room with scholars because, again, I have a master's degree. I can understand what you're saying, but because of the heart that I have, I'm going to then take your information and give it to the people who's being affected by it, right? So that's what made me then say, when I saw that they have this whole Department of Education, and I'm like, but that's what I do. That's what I have a passion for. So whereas, no, I might not be able to have a conversation with you about pH balance and waste management, I know what it's like to have a basement flooded. I know what that feels like. I know what we want to do to try to overcome that. So, like, issues that affect us every day, when people understand why, like, what it is that we actually do, then they'll get why they should care. So that was really what made me say, yeah, I'm actually going to take this, because even though technically it may not be in my wheelhouse, there are definitely areas that are, and that I can make them be. So yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when I was researching your background before having you on the show, I didn't see any experience as we see with some other candidates. And it sounds like, from what you're saying, obviously there's a passion. Even if you're not clear on the science, you know how to connect with the people who know the science, to also bridge the gap between just the practical understanding of what the problems are affecting. This is Oreo. He says hello.
Hi,
He's always
Oreo.
joining me.
The official producer.
The official producer of the show. To to be able to solve these problems? Because this was kind of going into one of my other questions, which related to what prior experience do you have that you feel elevates you above other candidates to propose the best solutions you and other board members will be responsible for? Well, you just answered that question very, very clearly, and I appreciate very honestly, because that was one of the things I was curious about after seeing some of the other candidates that were running and some of the backgrounds. And admittedly, I'm not a scientific person. I would be very, very overwhelmed going into something that I didn't have that kind of background in, but it does sound like you've figured out how to, what's the word, in time when you were elected, be able to find the resources to support what you're trying to do within the scientific community or the science community with the backgrounds and degrees in science. Yeah.
I mean, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, we're all people. Take all your degrees and titles to the side. And there are things that affect all of us. Today is Earth Day, right? So at the end of the day, this planet means something to everybody. It doesn't care what your title is. If we don't take care of the planet, if we don't take care of the elements, so whether you're talking about obviously recycling, but definitely within this water, stormwater, rainwater, wastewater, if we don't take care of it, I don't care who you are, then we're gonna, you live by it, you're gonna die by it, right? Yeah. And so for me, one of the things that's really lacking is just that community element. Like, you're not really communicating with the community at large. You're communicating with the key people who you've deemed as being key people, but that's not your everyday person. And so for me, like, I went on their website and they talked about 9 different tips, things that, you know, the everyday person can do, whether it's talking about like just with, I'm thinking about like the salt, right? When in Chicago, when it snows, we have certain salt that we use, but the salt that most people use is something that's actually going to be harmful for the planet. So it's something as simple as, like, they give different tips of what you can do instead of using that salt. There's a particular salt that they prescribe. They also talk about fertilizer or using mats. Like, they give different things that you can do that does not cost, is cost effective. It's even like with pharmaceuticals, unused pharmaceuticals. There are things that we can do. A lot of people don't know you shouldn't be flushing your unused pharmaceuticals down the toilet. Because why? A lot of times you see these movies and when it's sprayed, first thing they do is flush everything down the toilet, right? But that is horrible. We don't, that is really hurting our water. So what, and so I'm like, well, what are we doing about that? And there are literally four in all of Cook County, there are 4 collection sites, MWRD official collection sites. And so for me, that's one of the first things that we changed, right? Because even though they have other local collection sites that you can take your things to, here's the thing, mostly every one of those, because I looked them all up, they all have restrictions on either what you can bring, when you can bring it. And so if I'm out trying to do my civic duty, right, and I happen to come on a Tuesday to drop it off at noon, and you tell me, oh, the cutoff time was 11:30, what are the chances that I'm going to come back again a week later? You see what I'm saying? So these to me are like just some basic things that I think we're overlooking, some of the basic things that we could do to get everybody involved. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at, is just things that everyday people can do, that you don't have to have a master's degree in wastewater. And again, that's no shade to anybody that does that, because like Mark, who is running for the 6-year term, he actually has degrees in wastewater. He's actually that guy. If you want to sit down, he worked in the wastewater plant for years. So if you want to sit down and talk about all of that technical stuff with Metropolitan water reclamation and all of the water and the bacteria and phosphates and all of that, he's the guy that literally can do that. But it's
like the superhero team up, you and Mark from the Green Party.
Yeah, there we go. I think it's overdue that we actually have some accountability, especially for Chicago's drinking water, that for a long time has been heavily contaminated by a lot of dangerous metals and chemicals. Yep. Not only here, again, with our previous infrastructure, but from outside elements as well.
And I was about to get to that as we talk about poisons and toxins in the water supply. The big elephant in the room is lead in our drinking supplies. So before I go to the other questions, why don't we talk a little bit about that, some of your thoughts on that and the Green Party's thoughts on that? How do we approach that huge seemingly insurmountable challenge that has been evident for so long that they still haven't seemed to manage getting control over?
Yeah, that is a question that Mark typically takes, and what he says all the time, like the lead in the water, he said that's actually not an MWRD thing. So that is something, obviously, as a citizen, you're still going to be concerned about it.
Yeah.
But where do we start? I mean, like, obviously, for me, somebody like me, my thing is going to be bringing awareness to it. Once we know about it, then what is the alternative, right? Like, because obviously the more lead that you have in the water, it becomes dangerous. So now you're not drinking the water, you're not going to be swimming in the water, you're not going to be, all of those things. And so it's really just what is the reality, or how realistic is it to think that within 2 years, you'll be able to change a situation that's been going on for
I guess the larger question is, granted, if it's not MWRD's responsibility, how do they use their positions in water management to leverage or lean on those that are responsible? And hopefully we're going to be having Mark on the show also. That's a question we can put to him, because it just seems that when the water reclamation district is responsible for the processing of water, the wastewater, and then the transmittal of safe water to citizens within Illinois, how do they manage to have some kind of a influence on the issue of lead through those waterways? Where does that come from? And Kit, I don't know if you have any thoughts on other bodies that might have some responsibility over that have failed before.
Well, the thing is, it's rather surprising that this is something that doesn't fall within the jurisdiction. Yeah. But is there any way that your office can actually bring more awareness to, I guess, aldermen or either that state senators or state house representatives? Because look, lead in our drinking water in a major metropolitan city, we've already seen the disaster in Flint, Michigan. Yeah. While that is a smaller town or smaller city compared to Chicago, I mean, no city, town across the United States of America should have lead in its drinking water. Chicago is a metropolitan city. We're one of the biggest cities here in this country, right next to New York, LA, Miami, and it's frightening to know that this dangerous element is in our drinking water. How can your office actually help to actually bring more awareness to this? Because I think people still have either forgotten or have given up on the fact that no one has done anything to address this very serious issue.
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, let's say this: you are definitely preaching to the choir, because when you look at Cook County alone has close to 6 million residents. So we're not even talking about the state of Illinois, just talking about Cook County is almost 6 million residents. So that's a huge number of people. It would definitely be something that I would want to bring awareness to. I mean, like whether you're talking about and to me, when we talk about awareness, it's one thing just to tell people a fact, but to me, that second part that automatically goes with it is now what do you do about it, right? So first, we want to make sure that you know about it, and then what are some things that we can put together so that we can actually be effective in eliminating this problem. And so for me, I would definitely, again, and being totally transparent, I would definitely have to research more into this, because this is not my quote unquote wheelhouse in terms of knowing about pH balance and lead in this. Am I aware of lead in the water? Absolutely. In terms of what is it that we can practically do to alleviate that issue, that's something that we would definitely have to figure out. Like, you would have to find out how long would it take to come up with this particular issue, or is there certain water supply that isn't affected by it, or how might we be able to isolate certain waters to only, so those are definitely some issues that we would have to come into a little bit more. And let's read this.
Well, you know what? Ed just shared this with me in the Slack, and of course, it's from 2021. It's from last year, June of 2021. But apparently, Illinois passed landmark legislation to replace lead pipes, but I haven't heard much about it since this article apparently dropped. Chicago Department of Water Management crews install a water main pipe under the new law, water systems will be required to replace the full lead service line at the time of water main replacement. So I guess that this is something that will happen when other repairs or replacements are scheduled. That's when they'll replace the lead pipe. So it's not all going to happen at once, obviously, clearly.
Yeah.
But at least it seems like there is some effort beginning now. And this, as this was reported last June, really quickly, to your points, Kit, bans partial lead service line replacement, the dangerous practice of removing only the section from the water main to the property line. This causes disruption of the remaining portion of the service line and can result in significantly increased levels of lead contamination in drinking water. They're banning that. This new proposal requires water systems to submit an initial service line materials inventory to the state by April 15, 2023, and a final complete inventory by April 15th of 2024, which is sadly a little too long. But it requires water systems to submit an initial lead service line replacement plan to the state by April 15th, 2024, and an updated plan every April 15th for review by the state until a final comprehensive plan is submitted by April 15th, 2027. So it sounds like there's something proposed there, but it's not fast enough. I don't think that that's quick enough for what we're facing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and so all we really can do is just kind of, look and seeing what is there a more realistic plan in terms of a quicker timetable? Because 2027, it sounds like it's far off. And I mean, when we're living it every day, it's far off, but that's really 5 years away, and so time is just, because when I think about the year 2015, various reasons why that year pops up in my mind, it doesn't seem like 2015 was 7 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So like, before we know it, especially with everything else that's going on, and that's probably too, and it's not to push the issue off, but when this whole pandemic coronavirus came in, like I think that took priority over everything.
Clearly, obviously it had to.
And so I think is really one of those things. It's kind of just like how I feel about the whole educational system with our kids, and not to get off this subject, but like how I feel that our children kind of became collateral damage to coronavirus, because understanding you could only deal with one issue at a time, and it's the same issue here. But although you're trying to prioritize what's more important, the things that you're not tending to, they're still important, and people are still falling by the wayside until those things are actually addressed as well. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with your perspective on that.
My dad tossed a comment into the chat, which we just were able to thankfully reference in this article that Ed shared with us, Dad, regarding what was proposed last year, but how long it's going to take. He asked, Chicago infrastructure must be updated by replacing all of the old lead pipes, which contributes to the lead in the drinking water, humongous project. They're going to be replacing the pipes slowly as they go with any ongoing repairs. JR in the chat says, I don't think the funding will be available the way the war is building up with Russia. Interesting point. Lazy A-hole Ranch. Chicago is huge, and that's a massive undertaking, so I get why it will take a while.
It's still, even though Chicago is a major city, it's huge. I mean, let's face it, there are communities all across the south and west side of the city of Chicago that have been heavily neglected. And again, with gentrification running amok, with lead in our drinking water, it causes people to be displaced. Generations of families that have been living here in Chicago, moving out, and what was once the beating heart and soul of Chicago, which was the people who've been living here for generations, being moved out. And then you have, again, these large real estate developers moving in, they're privatizing everything, and of course, they're going to get out of the lead pipes and everything else, but then the city's going to be taxed with it. At this point, we have to make the undertaking now to prevent this city from becoming something that it really shouldn't be, and that is something that's overly expensive, which it already is.
Always,
yeah. But I mean, to the point to where what made Chicago what it is, its people will no longer be here.
Yeah. It's a problem that I don't know. And I see now we're bringing it down because now it's going to be sad, but I don't know that this really has a happy ending, right? Like, because again, what the viewer just shared, because now you're trying to get some type of normalization, if you will, with COVID, the pandemic, and all of that. Now you have this war breakout. So all of these issues are always going to seem, whether they actually are, they're always going to seem more pressing, right? And unfortunately, it always seems to take people dying, people losing their lives before we actually, because everything has to become a headline first, right?
Yeah.
So like when you pulled that up, Jerry, like that was from, you said 2021, right?
Last June. Yeah.
And so that means, but how many other headlines have there been since then? You could probably count. You see what I'm saying? So like with us, if the message is through the media isn't talking about that right now. And so it's not going to be until something crucial happens in a bad way that now it becomes the talking point again. And so it's like you have to have people working behind the issues. And so if indeed there's some type of way, to get back to your question, Kit, if there is some type of way, because again, the lead that we're seeing isn't deriving from the water supply, is the fact that the water supply is being affected by the lead, right? So if there is a way that you can figure out, again, this project that is going to be a massive project, I don't know that that's a problem that's going to be solved in 6 months to a year. You see what I'm saying? Like, because when you're talking about something like this, it is a major undertaking. And so you're praying that another strain of corona doesn't break out. You're praying that war within the US doesn't break out. So all of these other things are still more so in the forefront of people's minds. And so while you're trying to deal with that on this side, you're also having to be faced with what's going on. So what can we do right here, right now? And so honestly, I don't know that you're going to get something to heal this, because right now it's just Band-Aids. So is there something that we're going to be able to do within the next 6 months to a year that's better than what's already being done? I don't necessarily know. And then I'll say this and shut up for now. But that's the other reason, like with me in running for this office, you know, I am not a person that believes in over promising, right? I believe in over delivering. I feel like one of the reasons why people hate politics or politicians even is because everybody says all the right things that they need to say, you know, and so they'll say, you know, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to end war. I'm going to stop poverty. I'm going to do all of these things. And you have a 4-year term. You see what I'm saying? Like for me, I have a 2-year term. And so I'm not coming in promising the sun, the moon, and the stars. What I have a plan that I want to do, that I want to execute to try to tangibly change 3 main elements in what's going on with, you know, with the MWRD, with the water, with that type of the contamination. That's what I'm trying to do, that even if all 3 things are not effective, at least one thing we began to work on, because 2 years is not really a long time. And I think that if we had people more honest in saying what they're actually able to do, then people will respect the progress that they made, as opposed to saying, you know what, yeah, I'm going to take this issue and I'm going to fix it. And now it looks like I'm a liar. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that it is very disheartening what's going on. Unfortunately, it's not a new issue. I pray that we're able to get it fixed before it gets completely out of hand. But that 5-year projection is probably, that might even be a little bit, you know, not feasible. I mean, it might be more 7 to 10 years. Yeah. I mean, like, I pray that 5 years is actually a realistic goal.
Yeah, good point again from my dad. Thanks for joining in tonight, Dad. Lead pipe removal program should have been initiated back when lead was being removed from paint, when they knew that it was dangerous. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Lazy Abel Rand says he likes you, Toneal.
I like you too.
We've got some happy viewers listening to what you have to share here, and I do really appreciate your transparency and your honesty. You're not, you know, unlike a lot of other candidates that tend to talk down and act like they know everything. I would prefer a candidate that says, I'm not particularly strong here, but I'm going to make every effort to find the people to support me that know this stuff, because that's what you need, because you're advocating for the stuff that the rest of us are dealing with. And I think that that's very, very refreshing. Let me cover 2 other quick questions here that I had prepared regarding the current Water Management Board. What is the Green Party's view on how the current commissioner and board are managing water management and reclamation that they feel is lacking? Or do you know, or have they shared some of that with you?
Let me tell you what we talk about.
Okay.
All right, let's hear it.
So there are actually 9 commissioners, right? So the board of commissioners are comprised of 9 people. Now, here's what's really crazy. This year, 5 of them will not be returning, right? So normally they have it where it's kind of like every other year. So there's always a majority. You have at least 5 or 6 that are still in play while you're trying to elect the other, 3, maybe 4, sometimes even 2. But this year you have Barbara McGowan, who's been on the MWRD board since '98. She's retiring, so she won't be here anymore. The president, Carrie Steele, she's actually running for Cook County Assessor, so she won't be here anymore. Then you have, I want to say Josina Marita, she's going to a different position. I know, like I say, Shakina Perry is rerunning, she's the 5th one. And then it's somebody else. I forgot, one of the other board members, they're not going to be there anymore. So essentially, when we come on board, we're only coming back to the foundational 4 that will still be in play. And so what the thing we don't really talk about as the Green Party, we don't necessarily talk about the Board of Commissioners specifically. And I want to make a point about that. Here is my thing when it comes, because I'm not a mudslinger, and you guys probably have picked that up by now. Because here's the thing, when you're running a race and you're talking about all these negative things, they're just doing this horrible job.
Well, not that the board members are necessary. Forgive me. Not that the board members are negative, but like, where are they not paying attention? It's important. That's what I mean.
Oh, I got you. And
yeah, it's not personal.
But there are other shows that I've done where they ask about the board and the negative thing, they're looking for that. That's what I'm saying. So what my point just is that, you have to be very careful, because you don't want to talk about anybody negative that ideally you're going to be working with, because they're going to remember what you said about
there you go.
For a very, uncomfortable situation. But in terms of things that we think holistically what the MWRD board can do better, there are a lot of projects. So they have meetings, they have board meetings every other Thursday, right? And the public can tune into these board meetings. Because of COVID thus far, they have been virtual. So you can just go online, mwrd.org, and you can, if you want to get some of the prior minutes, you have access to that. If you want to watch some of the meetings, so they allow you to watch the meetings. And there are a lot of projects that get approved for like millions of dollars. Like every meeting is like these big numbers, and you're really like, well, what is this about? And so what we as the Green Party would like to see is more projects that's actually going for community building, not just like, and again, just saying what it is, you get people coming in with all of these big corporate donations on the front end to get them in office. So now you get all of these corporate projects approved now that they're in office, whether it's for the good of the people, none of that even matters, And so you're just kind of slinging all of this money around, and you're approving for these dollars. And so what we would like to be done better is to have like the different land that MWRD has access to. Let that be something that's going to benefit the community at large. Let it not cost $2 million for somebody, like an up and coming business. So we want to kind of leverage the playing field some. And so, like I say, they may not want me in office because I'm definitely the person for the people. Like I could care. I purposely align myself with an office that doesn't take corporate money, because my belief is that all money is not good money, right?
Well, yeah, the corporate money is what's not solving problems. And I don't want to necessarily say that's influencing the current board or the commissioners, but if nothing's changing, then there has to be some fresh blood in there. And I do think that the influence of money from big corporations and big donors like that, obviously, I mean, we've on a separate level, we've seen how a public utility donating to Michael Madigan and the Democratic Party downstate influences public policy regarding utilities and the monopolies, and they're allowed to run rampant, and there's so much corruption. And that's because these big corporations have the ability to throw money at the candidates to fund their campaigns, where smaller candidates like yourself, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but that
I know
are
what you
relying
mean.
on, you know what I mean? It's like you want to represent people, and that's why you've got to keep that element out of the process, because it's quid pro quo. They're going to expect something back for their money, although that's not what a donation should be about.
Absolutely. And because it definitely clouds the issues, right? Because once you take corporate donations, now you become their mouthpiece. And so, or at least that's what it feels as though, right? Like that's the expectation. So now I don't care what you actually felt, because I gave you this money. You have to talk on behalf of what I feel or what we feel as a company. And it's not really, to me, it's not really fair to the people. And it goes back to the earlier question that you asked. That's one of the reasons why I personally feel that question about how much money you've raised in your campaign, that should be eliminated off of every questionnaire. Like, because that has nothing to do with my ability to lead. It had, like, if you just want to know, do you have fundraising experience? That's one thing. That's a totally separate issue than to want to know exactly how much money I've raised in my campaign. Because again, if the purpose of those funds for campaigning is to make sure that I get exposure, you should then ask me, what is your campaign strategy? How effective have you been in with, executing your strategy? But that's not what they're asking. And so nobody is dumb. And so that's why I say, like, I have not read a questionnaire yet for endorsement that does not ask how much money. And it is a known fact that the Greens do not take corporate donations. And so if you're going to judge me based upon the fact that my counterparts have raised $70,000 and $50,000, I don't have to raise that type of money, but for outsiders looking in. So now it clouds the actual issue, because it's, so are you're voting for me based upon how much money I'm able to raise, or are you voting for me for what type of job you believe that I can do in this specific office? So yeah, I think that we definitely have to kind of put it in its place. And as a Green member, we unapologetically let everybody know that no, we don't take corporate donations. Like, we don't try to be on the defense and, we didn't get nobody. No, that's our stance on purpose. We intentionally want it that way. And so
it goes back to what you said a moment ago. You are a public servant.
Yeah,
absolutely. This is to serve the public. It's become the corporate states of America, not the United States of America. And going back to your point earlier in the show, which I mentioned, I like the way you frame it. You look at this as public service, public servant.
Absolutely.
You're not and a representative for the people. Great comment from TrueDemocracyNow.org. And I think that this is probably a good point to leave it on, or a good question to leave it on. But he asks, this is Dominic Palella, who will make the final decision for this political office to implement? Is there a majority vote of the officers, and does the office president have more political power than the commissioners?
So,
do you know?
So what I have seen thus far from the board meetings, so the only thing that is visible for the public are their board meetings. In terms of what else they do behind the scenes, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that the president probably has more power. But what I have always seen her do, her being Carrie Steele in the meetings that I have seen, is always deflect to the other commissioners, right? So every commissioner gets a say so just for the board meetings specifically. So everybody has an agenda, everybody gets to review the agenda, and they get to bring up whatever issues are specifically bothering them. Like if they want to particularly talk about this issue. Now, it's probably 30, 40 issues on the agenda. So obviously they're not going to be talking about all of them, but each person, there'll be meetings where only 2 or 3 commissioners may have a certain issues, but every commissioner does have the opportunity to raise their concerns. But the president, from what I've seen with the meetings, she's simply presiding over the meetings and keeping that in control. But again, other aspects of what the board does, those are not, is not televised for the public to see. So I'm not sure what her actual specific duties are beyond that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toneal Jackson, candidate for the 2-year term for the 2022 Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. There she is. You've heard her platform, Kit?
Yes. Will you be hosting any kind of live events or anything else so that our viewers and subscribers, if they live in the city of Chicago or Chicagoland area, if they want to check out your campaign events, Is there anything you're hosting online? If they want to learn more about your campaign, where can they go?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking, Kit. So people can get me all across social media. So on Facebook, that's probably, I live there the most. But on Facebook is just me. If you want to friend me, then you can go to Toneal Jackson. If you want to follow my page, I recently set up a public figure page, and that's it, Toneal M Jackson MBA. So you guys can go and follow that. And then we also have, if you're more interested in Green Party politics, you can become a member of the Cook County Green Party, which I'm also the chairwoman to, recently appointed chairwoman for the Cook County Green Party. And so we will be having events that people can come out to. We have a meeting coming up June 6th, but even before that, I'm always going live. I do a Toneal Talks Politics on Mondays on Facebook from my personal page. And so, like I say, there's always something that I'm doing. Politically is more so the Toneal Talks Politics, and then what I do within the confines of my Green Party stuff. But other than that, I'm always wearing a literary hat somewhere, a feminist hat somewhere. So I'm not difficult to find, Kid.
It looks like it.
Right.
One quick follow-up from the chat, Dominic, on the last question. His question, I guess, is more pointedly, do you know who makes the decisions that spend the tax money in the that regarding the issues that the board is presiding over? Is that the board's? I would imagine it's the board's decision as they discuss what's going on there. Does that make sense?
I believe her screen might have frozen.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah, her screen did freeze. Damn.
All right. Let's see if she can reconnect.
Yeah, I don't want to remove it yet and see if maybe it catches up. But in the meantime, Dominic, that's a good question. My guess is that it's the decision of the board. Oh, we lost her. Okay, she dropped out. Darn. All right. Well, we can. I can always. If she pops in again, she might try to log in again, so we can do a proper thank you to her and maybe pose that last. And no, I don't think that was on purpose.
No.
We have streaming problems here all the time.
Sometimes the internet can be fickle here, folks. I've had technical issues too. There's no such thing as internet working perfect.
Just like that.
I've been in that situation with like the Blues Brothers before too, especially when it comes down to dealing with bureaucracy in Cook County. So there you go. That's an elevator ride I know all too well. So I think on a side note, there's a lot of great things happening for Chicago Corner. So while we will wait for our guests to come back, there's a lot of great projects that are happening. I'm really excited about, again, interviewing further candidates that are running in Cook County and City of Chicago. We do have this midterm election cycle, and there are a lot of state races that are open for a lot of candidates to run for. I've said this before. Look, I know a lot of our audience, especially those that are from Hardlands Media, are burnt out by electoral politics, but at least on the state level, on the county level, and even on the city level, you have more access to your politicians, and you can talk to them, and yes, surprisingly, good things can happen. So while I know a lot of people are burned out by electoral politics, don't give up on it entirely, especially when it comes down to your own backyard. And look, 2023 is going to be Chicago's municipal election cycle, and we're going to be interviewing mayoral candidates, aldermanic candidates, plus with some of the new things that we are going to be doing with Chicago Corner, we're going to be having people out there in the field, especially covering events, campaign events, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing it being presented to all of you, and that's why I encourage everyone to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Chicago Corner. Plus, Jerry, I don't know, there's some sort of information that maybe Chicago Corner is going to be shaking things up on another media landscape too.
Maybe.
I don't know just yet. Maybe. Something new is happening on the corner. That's all I want to.
Are you sending up the signal, Kit? I'm ready to answer the call.
Maybe, Jerry. Maybe indeed.
Chicago Corner is ready to answer the call.
So there you go. Chicago Corner is going to be set and ready. And the only way you're going to know about it is if you like, comment, share, and subscribe. So there you go. Jerry.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that Toneal is going to be able to log back in, but I do want to once again thank her for joining us tonight. This is her presence at let's see, what's the domain? It's it's so small. Let me read it off of here. Okay, www.mwrdgreens.org. And these are the candidates for the Water Reclamation District. Toneal and Mark, who we're hopefully also going to have on to talk a little bit more about this position, as he's going to be running for the 6-year term. But she also has a social media presence where you can find everything she does at mynameis.toneal.com, and it's Toneal. This is how you spell Toneal's name. My name is Toneal.com. And Toneal, if you're still watching, I'm sorry your signal dropped out, but I want to thank you again for coming on the show this evening and talking about the importance of your candidacy and this particular position that you're running for as it relates to protecting everybody's water supply with the reclamation and redistribution of the water to everybody in Chicago. So let's get into our news stories. It was kind of a big week. I know that we went long with Toneal, but there's some important stuff going on. First of which, Kit, is it Groundhog Day yet? It feels like it's Groundhog Day.
No, every day's Groundhog Day. It's a nightmare. Make it end. Make the pain stop.
This is why it feels like Groundhog Day.
Amongst us, living in us, working through us, and even in spite of us. And so today we thank you for Dr. Willie Wilson and the work that you have commissioned him to do, along with his entire team. Bless him in Christ's name. Amen.
Dr. Willie Wilson.
And my pain.
All right, let me thank the Lord again for his amazing grace and his unspeakable gift. Want to talk about the other giveaway. We have sold for his gasoline. It's about $4.47 a gallon, I guess. And some is a little higher. But the morning I heard on TV, gasoline price is expected to go up another 6, 5, or 7%. People are really hurting out here in terms of trying to survive, trying to be able to pay rent, trying to buy grocery, and we're just trying to play our part as well. However, I did promise the people that I would let them know today whether we're going to give another third giveaway gasoline. As you know, the first giveaway was $200,000. The second one was $1 million. And this Saturday, we're going to pledge to give away a total of another $1 million giveaway for gasoline this particular Saturday. I'm asking also that the mayor of the city of Chicago, the governor, also the county board president, will they waive the taxes just for this particular $1 million giveaway? The last time they charged taxes on the citizen. So if you add 13% or 10% on $1 million, that's over $100,000 that we've already given to taxes that our citizen of Chicago should be able to benefit from. So this time we're going to send them a letter today, and I won't read it to you here. Ms. Buck, would you read this?
All right. All right. Bye, Willie. So he wants to buy more gas for everybody, but he doesn't want to pay for the taxes. I guess I didn't realize that with the last gas giveaway, but it appears that
Now,
people
Mayor Lori
who got the gas had to pay the taxes on the gas he was giving away, is kind of what I'm gathering from this press conference. So they're sending a letter to the city asking that the cost of the taxes. So AG, he just invited Lightfoot to raise taxes for that day. LOL. So, of course, not to be outdone, Kit.
Click, copy, and
make some quick
paste.
changes to her gas giveaway plan after one alderman raised concerns about who would be eligible.
CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozlov live outside City Hall. And Dana, if approved, a lot of these gas cards would now go to residents in certain areas.
Now, keep in mind, originally they were going to get gas cards all across the city, but now it's going to be means tested. Unlike Willie, who's...
Oh, great, Lightfoot. Oh, my
Right?
God.
She's going to means test it. It's only going to be for specific neighborhoods.
Oh, specific neighborhood. So she's going to means test it. Again, when Lightfoot wants to copy somebody, not only does she screw up at doing it, but she makes herself even look worse in the light of the public. Again,
let's hear about the plan, though.
Yeah,
I mean, Willie's going to buy people's votes, and now she's going to do it with the means-tested gas cards.
Yeah, Marie and Jim, 75%, so 3/4 of those gas cards would go to residents in the city's most struggling areas called high mobility hardship areas. That is the latest change to the mayor.
I wonder how many people have vehicles in those areas, Kit. I would venture to guess most people in those areas don't have cars. I would venture to guess they're probably using public transportation. That's why it's easy for 3/4 of the cards to go to those areas.
Yeah, and also on top of that too, this is Lightfoot's middle finger to Willie Wilson, but also towards the people of Chicago. Because notice her program. Again, I don't want to say that Willie Wilson is being this generous saint. I mean, let's be very clear at the work that Willie Wilson is trying to do here. I mean, free gasoline, and for a lot of Americans, especially Chicagoans, they're going to gobble that up. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Hell, I'm on board with that too. I'm not going to hate on it. But let's look at not Willie Wilson's plan, but Mayor Lightfoot. She's trying to do the same thing, but then limiting it to other people. And in turn, how many people desperately need those gas cards? See, Lightfoot has the power to make things so much easier for the working class citizens of Chicago. And yes, Lightfoot, I see you too. And while you're trying to stare into my soul, I can stare right back because I know you have no soul. So there you go. Again, Lightfoot being the thin-skinned egomaniac that she is, she can't handle it that someone's going to try and take away her limelight. But
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
taking away your limelight, Lightfoot, okay? So there you go. If you don't like it, too bad. I'll say it again. You're a hack fraud and you gotta go, and you're terrible at trying to copy anyone else's work.
You dicks, what the fuck were you thinking? You make some kind of secret agreement with the Italians. You're out there measuring your dicks with the Italians, seeing who's got the biggest dicks. You're out there stroking your dicks over the Columbus statue. My dick is bigger than yours and the Italians. I have the biggest dick in Chicago. Jerry was having fun with his editing program this weekend, Kit.
Yeah, I can see. I can't wait to see what else you're going to be working over the weekend too, my friend.
Let's go back into the report, though, to hear how the cards are now going to be rationed.
There's plan, which first has to get through pass a budget committee meeting here tomorrow, and then it would go on to the full city council next week for a vote. Now, if the mayor announced the lottery late last month, and it would give 100,000 transit or Ventra cards and 50,000 gas cards for $150 to eligible residents. She tweaked that plan, though, after 28th Ward Alderman Jason Irvin raised concerns that people on the west and south sides in particular were afraid to take the CTA because of crime. But if the $12.5 million plan passes, gas card applicants have to be at least 18 years old, have a Chicago address and a valid city sticker, and they also have to have a household income at or below the 100% median income for Chicago residents. That means, for instance, a family of four's total household income would have to be less than $93,200 a year.
How is the city paying for it, and is this something taxpayers can afford? Question one.
Yes, we wouldn't do anything that we didn't think that we could pay for. This is coming out of our corporate dollars, and we believe that this is the right thing to do.
Stop. Hold on. Did you hear those words that came out of Lightfoot's mouth? We wouldn't do anything unless, we knew we could afford it. So that means somehow, Lightfoot, you're either using the TIF funds like the sneaky little bastard that you are,
Bitch.
or there's something else that you're using, maybe from that federal COVID relief money. Maybe you pocket some stuff on the side. And then number three, does that mean also we could properly fund our public schools, actually build into our infrastructure, and actually get rid of the lead in our drinking water? Maybe fund some of the mental health facilities here in the city of Chicago? Lightfoot, if we got the money for these gas cards, what about our public schools? What about our communities, Lightfoot? I hope people remember that she said that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me continue with it.
Again, the mayor says that skyrocketing gas costs and the financial strain it is putting on so many of the city's residents is the main reason she has put forth this plan. But it also comes on the heels of gas giveaways by mayoral candidate Willie Wilson. Coincidence? We'll look more at that at 6 o'clock. For now, I'm live outside Chicago City Hall in the Loop. Dana Kozlov, CBS 2 News.
All right, so guys, look, take advantage. Ed jumps in. Ed jumped in.
This is Agent D.
Agent D. Thank you,
Yeah,
Agent D.
I've been tracking Mr. Cabello on the Twitch detail, but I was recently reassigned to YouTube to make sure that we're promoting the narrative and also promoting needless means testing.
Needless means testing or memes testing?
Yes.
Everybody needs a hobby.
You'll never get me alive.
Hello, everybody.
Is there Agent E? Did you say you are?
I'm Agent D. The
Agent
D
D.
stands for deep dish.
Dish pizza. Okay.
It's a long story.
Is there anything that you wanted to share regarding the gas buy off?
That's the thing is when they move me over to YouTube detail, they ask me to make sure that cities like Chicago are making it as hard as possible for the citizens to actually get real substantial relief. And so I have to give you a big thumbs down to Willie Wilson. He's actually trying to give people some relief, and it looks like the mayor, she's doing a great job right now, Jerry. She's making it seem like she's going to help everybody, and then she's going to just yank the rug out from under you when you realize that none of you are actually going to qualify for all these things that she said she's going to give you. So well done, Mayor Lightfoot. The association approves. I've said too much. I shouldn't be talking about the association.
My hopes for the results of the next mayoral election. All right, guys, look, take advantage of the gas giveaway if you can, where you can. I'm going to read some details from Block Club Chicago. I've got a graphic up there via Kelly Bauer. Here's where you can get free gas during Willie Wilson's next payoff this Saturday. Yeah, great. It's benefiting people, but come on, guys. He's buying people off, and that's why Lori's doing the same thing with city. I mean, that's what it is. Well, and honestly, it's one tank of gas. How long is that going to last people? 3 days?
Well, there is a difference. There is a difference, though. There is a difference.
It is it's his money. Oh, I lost my green.
Hey, Jerry, he's also giving gas to the suburbs. He's not running for mayor of the suburbs.
All right, that's true. But he's buying. Here, look at this thing. Go ahead, guys. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, guys. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, my green screen's been fixed. Sorry.
All right, perfect. All right,
It's
so
just for-
what I wanted to say is there is a difference between what Willie Wilson's doing and Lightfoot is doing. Number one, to Jerry's point, yeah, that's his own money. Number two, he came up with this first. And then number three, he had two very popular events that he was able to successfully run off. He's doing a third one, and people will go for it. The difference between Lightfoot is Lightfoot saw this, got shells, became petty, and came up with a weak version of what Willie Wilson's doing. And on top of that, I do have to question where the funds are coming from. Is it coming from the TIF funds? Is it coming from any kind of remnants of the COVID relief money that she used to spend off the city's debt? Or is there another source where that money is coming from? Is there something that the mayoral administration of Lori Lightfoot that they're not telling us? I mean,
Kit,
she said,
is Dr. Wilson talking about anything else other than giving away free gas? Yeah, I agree with you on all those points.
No, you're right.
That's the other thing. It's like it's always I'm giving away more gasoline. Okay, what we have other problems here besides a free tank of gas that'll last people 3 days. And when everybody's like, "Oh, Willie's giving away his own money," yeah, he is. That's great. But again, our problems are larger than filling up your tank once a week, every 3 times a month because of his. If you're lucky to get in line for his gas giveaway and then pay the taxes that the city wants that he doesn't want to pay.
Well, and cash cards would probably have been better for a lot of us too.
Yeah.
So the thing is, because look, I want to say this in point of what Willie Wilson is doing. His actions are just as questionable as Lightfoot. He is buying people's votes. He is buying people's love. But the thing is, that love will be fickle because the only reason why people will be flocking to him is because they'll be going to him for his money. But see, what Willie Wilson and millionaires like him don't know is that Americans have been struggling for a very long time. We're not lazy. We're not just people who don't want to work. We're all burnt out. And the thing is, people are going to keep on poking that good old Willie till he's going to say, I don't want to do it no more. And they'll turn on him like that. So he's trying to buy their love. But the thing is, he's buying them. And the thing is, there's a mindset, a mercenary mindset. People will go to him because they know he has money. But see, millionaires and rich people like him, I've heard a story. They're all notoriously very, very, very cheap.
Clearly. Well, look what Dominic adds in the chat below here. Why not some extra cash for our CTA riders who can't afford a car, right? You've got Lightfoot who's going to give the cards out to the lower income parts of the city where people probably don't have cars, which means there's not going to be so many gas cards to distribute. But, the point is for those people that don't have cars, help them out. Give them a CTA card. Willie Wilson, start giving out CTA cards too, if you want to really cover everybody's hardships. But let me really quickly go to the Blog Club Chicago article to give people a quick update. Another gas giveaway Saturday, more than 25 locations in the city and suburbs, 1 million in gas. Here are the locations: Super Save, 4080 Scarfield Boulevard, Citgo, 1345 North Pulaski Road, Super Save, 6659 South Halsted, Super Save, you know what? It's all there. I'm not going to go down the list. And city and Chicago locations.
You can also go to Willie's Facebook page.
Yes.
And he's got them there too.
Cool. And this is going to happen tomorrow on the 23rd, 7 a.m., starting at 7 a.m. until $1 million is exhausted. And please do not line up overnight.
Yeah, well, at least they learned their lesson from the first time around. When they did the second one, they had people set up that would pump the gas for you, which was huge. That probably got people through the line a lot faster. I think they were handing out tickets or whatever to people so that they weren't going to be, tying up traffic as badly. And I think that was the case. And it's about the same number of gas stations as last time. I think a few more dropped out since then. Just, some certain neighborhoods or whatever, they just don't want to participate in the spectacle, I guess. But it's good for the people who are able to take advantage of it. It'd be nice if they just sent people a bunch of checks, though, honestly. I think more people, let them figure out, how what to do with the money. Some, like you said, some people don't need gas. They might take public transportation. Some people might have bills that are due. Free gas isn't going to help with that. But, thanks, Willie, I guess.
I'm curious to see.
It's temporary. Watch. Here's the thing. Willie Wilson's going to keep on pushing his luck, and as sooner or later it's going to burn out because people will start asking him for more and more and more, and he's going to snap.
And he'll fucking do it again.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
All right, let's go to our next story. And there was a lot this week that I thought was worth talking about. This is an interesting story regarding Alderman Sposato, he's the one who announced he's running against Mayor Lightfoot, I believe, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why this has suddenly become a big issue that people are talking about. Let me bring up the article here. So the ethics board chairman defends calling out Sposato for posting a photo of himself in front of a fire truck on Facebook. We don't go look at people's social media sites. We react to complaints, ethics board chairman William Conlon said. You can't use the city logo, the city seal, or city equipment to promote yourself for an election. And this comes from the Chicago Sun-Times, Fran Spielman. Chicago Board of Ethics Chairman William Conlon said he had no choice but to call out Alderman Nick Sposato for posting that picture. Sposato has blamed commie lefty loons for accusing him of violating that portion of the city's ethic ordinance prohibiting city council members and citywide elected officials from using city property, equipment, or gear for political purposes. It's everybody else's fault. It's not his fault.
Really, Sposato, you're gonna go with the commie lefty loon trope.
Everybody else is
be more creative, Nick. Come on.
Have so much power. Yeah, right.
Someone like John Cass, he blames all the time. As much as I like John, we disagree politically, but it's the lefties, it's the commies, it's this, it's that. Conlon refused to comment on the source of the board's investigation of Sposato and subsequent finding of probable cause that the former 18-year veteran Chicago firefighter may have violated the city's ethics ordinance. But Conlon defended the finding, first in an interview with the Chicago Sun-Times, then in a letter to Sposato that responded to the older person's harshly worded letter to Conlon. We, quote, we don't go look at people's social media sites. We don't do that. We react to complaints. People can say the complaint is unfair, but it's not our judgment to make. We get a complaint, we look at the issue, and if the issue violates the ordinance and our case law, we tell people about it, Conlon said. Sposato is free to put anything he wants on his official Facebook page, Twitter page, or Instagram account, but Conlon said, you can't use the city logo, the city seal, or city equipment to promote yourself for election. Conlon said Sposato is free to try and Photoshop the picture of himself standing next to a fire truck, but that doctored photo is unlikely to be acceptable even under the city's ethics ordinance. You can Photoshop the insignia out and make the argument that nobody knows it's a city fire truck, but that's really counterintuitive, isn't it? If I see a city fire truck, I know it's a city fire truck, not because I see the emblem on it, because it's a city fire truck, the chairman said. And this is a very good point. Other candidates wouldn't have access to city equipment, city property, to take pictures in front of when they're running for mayor or running for any office. So, for Sposato to make this argument that it was okay, and this is just, the complaints of commie leftist loons, no. You are a city employee as a firefighter. You can't take advantage of the property of the city to promote yourself personally. And that's at the heart of this matter.
But doesn't it also matter about the context? Like if he had like a bio page on a website saying, what he did and where he came from, and he had one photo of himself in his history as a firefighter, I
think that would be acceptable, Ed, but to put it at the forefront here for part of his political campaigning, I think that there is this.
I'm just being a devil's advocate here.
No, you're right. I think that in that context, I think it's acceptable. I think if you're going to build a campaign around an image like this, as it sounds like he was trying to do, then it's an issue. Then it's violated.
You can't make it all about that. No, that would be over the line.
So Sposato said he has no intention of playing games with Photoshop. I'm taking it down. I'm replacing it with a cartoon fire truck. Then I'll wait for my hearing to see if I can put it back up, he said. What a grown-up. Look at that. Look at him in front of his little cartoon fire engine. Isn't that great?
It's adorable, but then won't the guys at whatever the
Disney
or whatever have a problem with that?
Well, Pixar. Yeah. No, it's Pixar. That's.
Oh, is it Pixar? Okay.
Wait. Disney owns Pixar. What doesn't Disney own now?
What doesn't the mouse own these days?
In fact, you probably should take that down now, Jerry. We're going to get a copyright strike.
Back to the article. In his letter to Conlon, Sposato explained why the photo he's been using since as far back as my first campaign in 2011 was so important to him. This picture is personal history, a history of which I'm very proud. I'm proud to have served the people of the city of Chicago for 18 years. Great. As a further matter of personal history, it was a time when I was strong and fit. Eugenics, anyone? Before I was afflicted with, I didn't know he had multiple sclerosis. My bad. Before I was afflicted with multiple sclerosis that today deprives me of the use of my legs, he wrote. Sorry to hear that. Conlon said Sposato has a right to be proud of the picture and that he should be equally proud of his service to the city. But that doesn't change the fact that the Board of Ethics has no choice but to enforce the law. It's an ordinance that the city council passed. If they're unhappy with this, let them amend the ordinance, Conlon said. Conlon categorically denied Sposato's claim that the ethics board dragged the alderperson's name through the mud by divulging the subject of an investigation whose name should remain confidential. It was absolutely confidential. There was not one aspect of our work on this matter that wasn't confidential, the chairman said. The only person who broke the confidence on this was the alderman. Ed, you bring up some good points, though. I'll give you that. I just think that from my perspective, and again, I didn't realize the alderman had multiple sclerosis, and I'm very, very, very sorry to hear this. It's not an illness anybody should have to deal with. The rules are the rules. Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, in many instances, Sposato has kind of, at least as I've followed him in the news, he's able to do whatever he wants. I think I get a sense from him that it's one of those rules for thee, not for me situations or attitudes that he has. So, if we're going to follow, if everybody's supposed to follow the letter of the law and ethics and ordinances, so should our aldermen. And I think that I guess it'll be interesting to see how this ends up turning out.
Final note for this story. When it comes down to our politicians following the rules, occasionally they will do things. Most of the time, not occasionally, most of the time, they will do something that they think will just float under the radar. But in this day and age of social media, especially where we all have access to the internet, our Twitter accounts, Facebook, everything of that nature, that's not going to fly. And plus, look, you have people who are burnt out by politicians who think they have an ego in which they are untouchable. And while, yes, he should be proud of, his time, his service, and everything else, at the same time, rules are rules, and you don't break them. Okay, we have them implemented and put in place for a reason. And if there is something wrong with that, then come up with a reason, or come up with a new law that would be beneficial, that won't be crossing the line. There we go. That's just that simple. But little knees, come on, let's go. Come on. We all know that there's
have to follow the rules.
Powerhouse in this country right now.
I inadvertently missed a story that I wanted to follow up the gas giveaway with that was relevant before I went into Sposato. So let me bring it up because there actually was a first time I've missed one of those great transitions, guys. While Lightfoot and Wilson are all worried about giving gas cards to everybody, Chicago's air pollution is among the worst in the U.S. New analysis finds.
We did it!
All those gas cards.
We did it!
Fuel, right?
Number one!
Congratulations!
Number one! Woo!
Good thing they're giving out those gas cards to add to the smog instead of giving out the public transportation cards to reduce congestion and traffic on the roads. Metro Chicago ranks 16th in smog pollution and 22nd in year-round particle pollution out of more than 200 metro areas studied according to the American Lung Association. What are Willie and Lori saying about that in relation to what I was mentioning before?
But I do have to wonder, what were those numbers like in 2020 when the lockdown was happening, when none of us were driving around? I'm wondering what the air quality pollution was like then.
I don't remember the specific numbers, but I do recall them talking about it in the normie news that they were lower. Yep. Pollution was lower.
They were. I recall that. I do recall that. So this comes from Maxwell Evans. The Chicago metro area's air remains among the most polluted in the country, though its air pollution metrics have generally improved since 2000. According to a new analysis, Chicago area residents' annual exposure to smog and particle pollution are among the 25 worst in the nation. The American Lung Association's 2022 State of the Air report found the metro area stretches across 19 counties in Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. The national report analyzed air monitor data from 2018, 2020 in more than 200 U.S. metropolitan areas. Chicago metro area ranked 16th out of 226 in average days per year with high ozone, commonly known as smog. Ozone is a more powerful lung irritant that can cause breathing problems in the short term and asthma, COPD, and damage to bodily systems in the long run, according to the report. Cook County in particular received an F grade for smog pollution with a weighted average of 16 days per year. That's 5 times more than the cutoff for a D grade and a slight increase over the 2017-2019 average of 15.5 days. If you live in Cook County, the air you breathe may put your health at risk, the report reads. I'm sorry that I did not properly follow up my point to what Lightfoot and Wilson were not addressing. This is one of those topics that I felt was important. This is the kind of shit that they should also be talking about. Just not here's free gas, everybody.
Hey, no,
more pressing issues.
Pollution, Jerry, we're number one. Let's let the planet's dying. The pandemic has somehow been defeated thanks to Putin for some reason, because no one's talking about COVID. The inflation is rising, prices are rising. We don't have Medicare for all. We're being crushed with debt. Let's enjoy this championship belt, the most polluted air in America, Chicago. Number one. We did it, guys.
I'm so proud. So proud.
We did it.
We did it. Yeah, that's
the Blues Brothers agree with me. There you
an
go.
unfortunate update to what what our representatives, our public servants, as Toneal described them as they should be, are not offering any possible solutions to. All right, so moving on. 2 more stories really quickly. This next one, very important. And it broke, I think, a day or 2 ago. Bring it up. Jason Van Dyck is back in the news. Federal prosecutors will not be pursuing charges against him. He's out. He's free. Laquan McDonald's family is not happy. As reported by Block Club Chicago, Colin Boyle and Kelly Bauer. McDonald's family, we never said Jason Van Dyck shouldn't face federal charges. His McDonald's family and their supporters say they still want federal prosecutors to pursue charges against the Chicago police officer who shot the teen, dismissing prosecutors' claims the family wanted the case to go quiet. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced Monday, and remember, this is the U.S. Attorney's Office under who? Who? Sleepy Joe Biden. Thank you. Oh, Ed, I'm glad you had that one ready.
Listen, Jack. I don't know how to talk like Joe Biden, but I sure as heck know how to.
Let me give you a little lesson.
What was I talking about?
Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about.
Hey, Jack, listen.
Listen, Jack.
Here, and I'm going to shake some empty air.
I gotta go sniff someone's hair, some little girl's hair right now. Let me go now. I'll get Camel Toe Harris to take the podium for me. So, yeah, the U.S. Attorney's Office under Joe Biden, who wrote the crime bill, remember, announced Monday it will not file charges against former officer Jason Van Dyck, who shot and killed 17-year-old McDonald in 2014. And let's remember, we also had our former mayor help cover that up, who's now the ambassador to Japan. In doing so, the agency said McDonald's family agreed not to pursue charges. But McDonald's relatives held a news conference Thursday to refute that, saying the office did not contact them and they still want Van Dyck to face federal charges. Who should we believe here, guys? Are we going to believe the federal government, or are we going to believe the family that didn't get the proper justice that they should have?
Well, I always believe what the government tells me.
I'm so angry about this outcome because nobody contacted the family or his mom to say we, the family, are not seeking federal charges against Jason Van Dyck. Tracy Hunter, McDonald's grandmother, said at the news conference at Federal Plaza. Yes, we are. Nobody called my house, but the newspapers and the TV people, and that's how I found out. The U.S. Attorney's Office, what do you think they had to say about this, guys? What do you think they had to say? They had nothing to say. They declined to comment. Hunter said she thinks the agency was in talks with a distant relative of McDonald's, but they did not contact her or other more immediate family members. The family is no longer using that relative as a spokesperson, she said. Well, good. Go to the person who's not in sync with the rest of the family to cover your agenda. Hunter and others there demanded the U.S. Attorney's Office bring charges against Van Dyke. This is Tracy Hunter, Laquan McDonald's grandmother. Van Dyke, who shot McDonald, we know what he did. He murdered a young man that had a lot of life in front of him. Justin Blake, uncle of Jacob Blake, said at Thursday's news conference, "We don't know where our next Malcolm X is coming. We don't know where our next Obama is going to come from." Well, I don't think you want another Obama, with all due respect, Mr. Blake, because Obama will say anything and stand for nothing. Malcolm X, I'm all for it. I don't think you want another Obama, because I don't think Obama would. I think Obama's Justice Department would do the same thing if he were still in power, and a lot of people think that he still is in power. I think that we're looking at Obama's third term right now with a puppet. Where is he, Ed? Where's Sleepy Joe? Come on, Jack. Get with the program. Where is he? There he is.
No,
Yeah.
Mr. President, the microphone's this way.
Hey, Jack, I got to shake the air. Hey, Jack, I got to go ahead and change my underwear.
He could have been that. It was stolen from him and his family in the city of Chicago. Immediately after Van Dyke's release, McDonald's family and their supporters called for him to face federal charges. 9 people, activists and members of McDonald's family, were arrested when they refused to. Oh, that's a good look. Arrest the family members for refusing to leave the federal building during those events. Officials from the U.S. Attorney's Office refused to see Hunter at that time, supporters said at Thursday's news conference. Federal prosecutors said Monday they declined to pursue charges against Van Dyke because they'd face a very high bar in securing a conviction. And even if they were able to do so, whatever sentence there might be could diminish the important results already achieved. What important results? He's already out on parole, isn't he? They let him out early. Yeah, I mean, it's what results? It's just mind-boggling. What results? All right. The public should not draw conclusions regarding how the U.S. Attorney's Office is likely in the future to analyze incidents of alleged crimes by law enforcement officers, according to the federal news release earlier this week. Doesn't this fly in the face of that, though? How can you say that? How can you say we should not draw conclusions regarding how they're going to do things in the future when they just kicked this one to the curb? The Department of Justice remains committed to investigating allegations of excessive force by law enforcement officers and will continue to devote the resources required to ensure that credible allegations of civil rights violations are thoroughly examined. Uh-oh, I have a hot take. Where's my tinfoil hat? Who was mayor when this whole thing was covered up regarding Van Dyke?
Oh, why, his name was good old Rahm Emanuel, who is now the ambassador to Japan.
So let's connect some dots. If they decided that they were going to seek prosecution against Van Dyke, this whole thing would be reopened, right? And who was mayor of Chicago at that time? Look, is that tinfoil hat theory? That's actually not, I don't think it's a bad theory. What do you guys think?
Look, here's the thing. The Democratic Party, especially the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens, all of the Democratic establishment people have a huge favor that they owe to Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel was very integral in regards for establishing and maintaining their power. So unfortunately, that scumbag is going to get away with it. And if there's any way the Democratic Party can protect Rahm Emanuel, whom they owe favors to, they will do so.
Prosecutors would have to show Van Dyke willfully deprived Mr. McDonald of a constitutional right, which would mean they'd need to show Van Dyke deliberately broke the law and his actions were not the result of mistake, fear, negligence, or bad judgment, according to the news release. What kind of, I'm not going to use the P word, but what kind of a P word at that distance, watching a kid hide with a knife, that this is a result of fear or negligent fear? He wasn't fearful. 16 shots, boom, 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 boom. I don't know if that was 16. To even say that is nothing but a spit in the face of the family and McDonald's. This is the Justice Department. Prosecutors would have to show what Van Dyke was thinking when he shot McDonald and that he knew the shooting was an excessive use of force, according to the agency. Do you know how many cops were out on the street when he shot McDonald that helped cover this up? It wasn't him in a dark alley with McDonald.
No.
Right?
It was a lot.
You guys remember Animal House?
Yep.
Blowjob. Blowjob. That's what I'm thinking. Oh boy. Yeah, it's just another day in Chicago land, Chicago town. And if prosecutors secured a conviction, the judge who imposed a sentence would have to consider the time Van Dyke already spent in prison, how his conduct led to him being released early, and how he is not and will never again be a police officer, thank Christ, and I'm agnostic, according to the agency. Given these factors, there is a significant prospect that a second prosecution would diminish the important results already achieved, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Van Dyke killed McDonald October 20th, 2014. You know, as far as it goes with McDonald, guys, I'm sorry, not McDonald, with Van Dyke.
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
I think a lot of people had a good sense that Mr. Van Dyck was not the most, tolerant of other colors or races when he decided to discharge his weapons 16 times.
16 shots was on Showtime. It was a documentary about what happened with Laquan McDonald shooting. They show the video. They show everything that happened. Laquan McDonald didn't need to die.
No. And if any officers felt that they were in danger or at risk of a kid, literally, like, I mean, he was high, yeah. He could barely walk straight, waving his knife around. Taser. I mean, how many cops were out there? Look, a lot of people will say, "Well, you don't know. You're not in law enforcement." Blah 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 blah. Okay, we're not.
16 shots. Come on.
Yeah, we saw what went out. We saw what went down. All right, so going to our last and final story. Again, it's like Groundhog Day here on Chicago Corner because this is in the news again. Although this is my feel-good story to end the show with because for once I found some aldermen that take a position that matches what we've been talking about here. Bring it up. 3 city council members at the 3 proposed sites throughout Chicago don't want a casino in their ward.
All right, 3.
How many bullets are being dodged there for the local citizens in these communities that I believe that these casinos would cater to gambling addictions, not provide anything except whatever jobs that they claim they're going to create? Beyond that, I think be a bane on every one of these communities. Melody Mercado from Block Club Chicago is reporting Alderman Walter Burnett Jr. is the latest to say he doesn't want a gambling mecca in his ward. Bally's is lobbying to build a casino at the Prime Tribune publishing site in River West. Now you got 3 aldermen representing, thankfully, the wishes of the voters, their constituents in their communities who say, we don't want this. But Bally's has got lobbyists that are going to try and force it down their throats. Burnett is the latest alderperson to say he doesn't want a casino as Bally's is lobbying. Burnett's comments follow Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez of the 25th and Alderman Pat Dowell of the 3rd, who are contending with casino bids from Rivers, which has its sights set on the 78 mega development, and Hard Rock, which aims to open near Soldier Field. Burnett told Block Club Wednesday that he really doesn't want to be bothered with a casino. I actually hope they don't choose my area, the veteran alderman said. No one wants to be in this position because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Actually, he said darned. I misread that because you know how that's how I would say things. I'm the one who's got the potty mouth.
Fuck this noise, man.
You're such a disappointing pair. I prayed so hard for you. It saddens and hurts me that the two young men whom I raised to believe in the 10 Commandments have returned to me with filthy mouths and bad attitudes.
I think she was talking about you and me, Kit.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I have an idea for a sequel, a real sequel.
A good one?
A good one, yes. My God, I'll run it by you after the show because I don't want to steal my idea.
Maybe we could do a fan film. We can shoot it here in Chicago.
Yeah, hell yeah, it'll be a real legit one. All right, not that bastardization in 2000, but yeah.
That one makes me throw up in my mouth to think of. I can't believe that.
Yeah, we don't speak of that disaster. But speaking of disasters, the casino. Now, look, I understand that there are a lot of people saying that it can help out Chicago's economy and so much more. But no. We have the TIF funds. We have resources available that are here right now. And a casino, look, on a personal note, I'm going to be very serious here. I know people that are dealing with and struggling with addiction, okay? And I find, and I take addiction, very seriously. If I'm around someone that doesn't drink alcohol, I don't drink alcohol around them. Now, I can handle my alcohol and everything else. But the thing is, I don't promote that kind of stuff. And if someone is struggling with alcoholic addiction or tobacco or gambling or drugs, you can't have an environment where it's going to be promoting that kind of stuff, okay? And gambling, look, there's a lot of people that are addicted to it, okay?
You're putting this near neighborhoods where people are struggling. They're already throwing their money away on the lottery.
Yeah.
Where's the next place they're going to try to, like, when they've got no other options, throw their money, literally flush it down the toilet because we're not investing in the communities and we're dealing with the jobs, we're dealing with the mental health clinics. It's like we got the money to develop the casinos, but we don't have the money to develop the communities that they're going to be in, that are literally going to prey upon the people who live in that community because they don't know any better. Sadly, not everybody. I don't want to broad stroke, but a lot of them don't know any better. And it's, for the opportunity to try to get rich quick, if there are no other opportunities or investment in their communities, you're just sucking more money, and you're actually creating more of a problem when you're sucking the money out that way, appealing to gambling addictions. Or let's forget about the addiction aspect of it, Kit. Desperate people who don't have other options.
Speaking of desperate people who don't have other options, Jerry, hi, Mayor Lightfoot here. I'm just I have sensitivity to all of the concerns that these three aldermen have put forth, and I feel for them, and but you really need to understand the amount of revenue that we'll be able to use for the third bean that I'm going to put on top of the second bean that I'm taking out of the TIF funds.
Hey, Lightfoot, I heard that there's a mayoral candidate that's actually fighting for Medicare for All, and it's really popular. Gee, maybe you could do like a speed Medicare for All and the UBI too,
I gotta run.
You annoy me.
That was from Mayor Lightfoot. Bally's, Rivers, and Hard Rock were the three finalists chosen last month by Mayor Lori Lightfoot to host Chicago's first casino. Earlier this month, Sigjo Lopez said he cannot support a casino at the 78. Dahl said she couldn't support one Monday. Alderman Sophia King also represents part of the one central site Hard Rock would be in. Neighbors living near the prime River West site in Burnett's ward have largely rejected Bally's plan. At a meeting with 500 neighbors in attendance earlier this month, most said they don't want a casino in the neighborhood. Despite the opposition, Burnett said at the time he believed that a silent majority supported the plan. Always that silent majority that doesn't have the balls to come out and actually identify themselves, because there is no silent majority. The silent majority are the power brokers, and they're a minority. Anyway, again,
maybe they mean silent majority of investors.
You think? Right now, the people who want it aren't saying anything, he said. River North Residential Association leaders said that less than 13% of neighbors polled support the plan. There's a graph on the page. Look, again, it's like Groundhog Day, but I did think I think we've reported on this maybe 4 times now, but these developments in regards to the fact that we got 3 aldermen now who are like, no, we don't want it, I feel is a step in the right direction, I hope. So that's it. That's our show. We're almost on 2 hours here. It was a really well-loaded, full broadcast. A lot of good information for everybody.
Yeah, be sure, and again, to our audience that lives in the city of Chicago, Chicagoland area, find out where you're supposed to go ahead and vote, especially for this midterm election cycle. Look, I know we're all burnt out by electoral politics, but that shouldn't stop you from supporting good ballot initiatives, especially for this midterm election cycle, but also your local county and state elections. Because let's face it, if you could vote independent or vote for a third-party candidate that's not the Democratic or Republican Party, let's go ahead and do that. We already interviewed 2 Green Party candidates. We're looking to get the 3rd one here onto our show. And yes, we're going to be interviewing all candidates, so hopefully we'll get that set up very, very soon.
We had Toneal Jackson on tonight. Tuesday we had Anna Schiefelbein, who was I'm impressed with both of them, and I'm going to be very candid. Schiefelbein, thank you. I'm going to be very, very candid here, and I really, really cannot emphasize how much I appreciate the fact that she actually addressed my concern. She does not have a lot of background in what you would imagine a candidate would have, would have in science and technology, but she was very forthright about the fact that, she's looking at what we're all dealing with, water issues, right? Flooding, clean water, and bridging the gap with those that know the science to help address the concerns that she and the other commissioners should be looking at. So I give her a lot of credit for that. And I that kind of transparency, there was no bullshit. And I like that. So I'm really glad that she came on. I think she's a fine candidate. I will be voting for her, as well as Anna. And I do hope that our viewers will examine their platforms and start seeking out these third-party candidates and giving them more viability that they deserve. It's a lot of hard work to run for office, everybody. And they're putting in that hard work to serve us, not themselves. Mm-hmm. So with that, anything else you gentlemen want to share before we adjourn for the weekend?
Look, Jack, did you see my keys? I'm looking for my keys.
Old man Biden, keep your keys off my show. There you go. Slap him proper. There you go. I'm really excited for all the great stuff for Chicago Corner. If you're following the Heartlands Media Twitter account, you might find a new picture, and you might see something happening. I don't know. Something's happening.
Is it on the Hard Lens Twitter account?
Yeah.
Oh, what the heck? Let me share it here before we go. Let me bring it up real quick.
Oh, okay, sure. I think it's either the first tweet or the second tweet right there.
Cool.
You'll see the picture.
Navigate to my Twitter.
Well.
Aha. All right. And here we go.
What's happening?
That's what your host was working on today. I installed all those bricks for a very special in-studio Chicago Corner set that will be used. Stay tuned for more details. That's our cliffhanger.
That's some really nice masonry you got there, Jerry.
Thank you.
Can't tell you what's happening.
But yeah, we got the sign there. We got the couch set up as traditional Chicago talk shows of old have broadcast. And I'm really happy that we finally have an opportunity to do something out of the studio and have a unique set.
I think we represent Chicago Corner pillows or something there.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can get some stuff from the Redbubble store to add to the accoutrement in the space there.
Well, we should also tell everybody that the piping plovers are back.
Oh yeah, I read about that. You want to share that story, Ed, real quick?
Oh yeah, let me see if
I can pull it up. If you want to read it off of the webpage, I can go into the Slack and bring up the link that you shared earlier.
A window here.
Where do we go
Maybe
here?
I can share.
There you go.
That.
Is there something there? There you go.
Oh, we get well. This is just a quick clip. I'm gonna just show a couple seconds, and I'm gonna turn the sound off so we don't get a copyright strike.
You know what? That'll
I'm
happen
turning
on
that off.
Facebook at this point. I was going to say don't worry about it, but I mean I've played so many little things with copyrights.
All right, but just little. You see, they got the eggs and they got the plovers, and they showed up at Montrose Beach, and these guys are all. Well, you guys can catch this airing on local WTTW, the PBS channel, at 2 a.m. later this evening, early tomorrow morning, or tomorrow at 4 p.m. And it's little Monty and little Rose are these little tiny little birds that a few years back started nesting at Montrose Beach in Chicago. And I think our own Lainey Peterson introduced us to them a little while back. And well, we know that Monty made it back to the beach yesterday. We don't know where Rose is yet, but I think they both have Twitter accounts. You could find Piping Plovers or Chicago Piping Plovers over on Twitter, and they've been following their activity. People are trying to make sure that these guys have a chance to survive because there's a lot of predators out there, and some of those beaches aren't as clean as they need to be. So there's a bunch of people out there trying to protect them and help them to, at least to make it through until the next season. And so it's kind of fun to follow them. Once a year you see them traveling when the birds migrate.
They have them tagged, don't they, to track them?
Yes. They let's see if I have a close up here on any of these photos. So we got the birds all have little tags that they put around their legs when they're young, and they don't hurt the birds, but they're like different color codes and stuff, so they can track which bird is flying where. And so when people spot them at different places along the migration route, they take pictures from far away with telephoto lenses, and then they post a lot of those onto social media to find, and then people will go, oh wait, that's Monty. We know that one's Monty because he's got an orange band on one leg and a different color on the other, and they know that's him. And they just had some chicks last year, so hopefully some of them will be coming back. And it's it's the circle of life.
Very good indeed. Well, I'm very excited about this. I mean, again, to my fellow Chicagoans, don't harass the birds, leave them alone, and let us always contribute to the again, rebuilding a lot of our local ecosystems here, because let's face it, our animal friends need to have homes too, and eat and be in peace and raise their little families too. Why not?
Yeah, Kit's absolutely right. I know a lot of people, they like to go in there, they're like, oh, let's see the birds and take some photos for social media. Don't get too close.
Leave them alone. Leave them alone, okay? You can watch them on the YouTubes, and you won't be hurting nobody. So there you go.
Very good. Thank you, Ed, for sharing that update. I remember when Lainey first reported on the plovers last year. I have to have Lainey back on the show sometime soon. Just juggling a lot of stuff here. So, you want to say goodnight, Oreo? He's kind of popping up here. All right, say goodnight to everybody.
Our official producer.
There he is. So his head just disappeared from the green screen. He seems to be emerging with the background there. Anyway, guys.
Become the city.
Yeah, yes. Oreo is the city. Get your butt out of my face. All right, guys, listen, thanks again for a great show. Thanks for joining me tonight. Always look forward to having you both provide your insight and contributions along with everybody in the live chat. Until we return on Tuesday, everybody, please remember to have a safe weekend. Stay safe, watch out for each other, and be vigilant. Right, Oreo? Yes, baby. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Have a safe weekend, everybody. Stay safe.